Before we dive in, drop a quick hi in the comments. It may seem small, but trust me, it really helps YouTube share this story with more sci-fi fans like us. I'd love to see who's watching.
The Council broadcast came without ceremony. It pulsed through relay cores in every recognized system, translated instantly into over 6,000 languages. Species designation 438b, Homo sapiens. Periodic assessment concluded. No psi broadcast capability. No cultural harmonics. No accepted governance structure. Technological stagnation observed. Empathic resonance negligible. No petition for protectorate status received. Result: under code Theta 9, humans are deemed unfit for galactic integration. Territorial claim revoked. Resource reallocation authorized. Containment or removal of resistance approved. On the bridge of the Voraktel, flagship of the Skardoon war clan, silence reigned. And then came the laughter. Captain Kor, feared pirate, raider, and name-whispered nightmare, dragged a ragged claw down the front of his armor plate, slicing open the seal zip of his chest pouch. Inside, a strip of dark, sinewed flesh, purple-black, spiked with bone. He raised it high so the crew could see. Steam coiled from the meat in the chill of the command deck. "Turayak," he growled, voice thick and jagged. "The last of the Vexari." He bit down. The flesh tore like tendon, snapping between his teeth. Blood smeared his jawline. The crew hissed in approval, claws thumping armor in rhythm, a predator's drumbeat. One by one, they followed suit. Each carried a piece of the last kill. It was ritual, tradition. Flesh before fire, blood before the next hunt. At the rear of the bridge, Quartermaster Shar cleaned his mandibles with a blade and spat. "Our lucky day. No shield treaties, no Concord codes. Meet with no protector." "They have colonies," muttered one of the juniors. "Some tech. Structures." "That sells better," Shar grinned. "But we move fast, before the other clans catch the scent." Kor stared at the dark beyond the screen as the broadcast blinked out. 90 seconds. That's how long it had taken to render an entire species irrelevant. "Where's the nearest colony?" he rasped. Navigation chirped in response. A star map flared to life. The edge of the Terran cluster. A soft world. A soft name. Halcyon 3. It pleased him. "Launch the hunt." A younger voice spoke, half curious, half fearful. "What if they fight?" Kor turned to the young warrior. "Then they burn," he said. "Slower. That's all." The Voraktel shed its escort ships as it slid into low orbit. Bone-hulled cutters peeled away first, followed by the drop barges. Ugly, claw-shaped vessels built for atmospheric penetration and nothing else. No heralds, no challenge signals. The Skardoon did not announce hunts. They arrived like teeth. Halcyon 3 rotated beneath them, unaware. City lights traced river valleys. Agricultural domes glimmered faintly, misted with condensation. Traffic crawled along surface lanes in predictable civilian patterns. Kor watched the tactical overlay bloom across the main screen. "No orbital weapons," Shar reported. "No fleet signatures. No shield flare." A pause. Then, amused disbelief. "They never even tried." "Of course they didn't," Kor replied. "Prey that expects predators builds walls. These ones built homes." The first pods fell. They punched through cloud cover in screaming arcs, heat shearing across their armored hides. Skardoon dropcraft did not slow. They impacted, hammering into streets, fields, habitation blocks. Shockwaves shattered glass kilometers out. The doors blew inward. Skardoon poured out. They moved low and fast, bodies built for gravity, claws biting into concrete. Their helmets fed them heat, sound, and motion, highlighting panic in bright, twitching outlines. The first humans died without understanding why. A family ran from a habitation dome, dragging children by the arms. One Scardoon leapt the distance in a single bound and landed among them. There was a wet, efficient sequence of movements: neck, spine, chest. The warrior tore free a limb and tossed the rest aside, already scanning for the next target. Another pack breached a hydroponics facility. Workers scattered between growing towers. The Scardoon herded them instinctively, snapping jaws, forcing them into corners. Stun prods crackled, nets deployed. The ones that resisted were killed immediately. The rest were tagged, shackled, and marked for transport. "Live yield acceptable," came a voice over the pack channel. "Prime stock." The Scardoon understood value. Not all meat was eaten on the ground. Much of it was boxed, flash-frozen, cataloged. Humans were bipedal, protein-dense, low in toxin markers, easy to process, easy to sell. In one settlement square, resistance flared. A handful of civilians with projectile weapons, firing wildly from behind a cargo hauler. It lasted less than 10 seconds. The Scardoon flanked without discussion, split the group, and left nothing standing. Core advanced with the second wave, stepping over bodies, nostrils flaring as the scent thickened. Blood pooled in gutters. Alarm klaxons wailed, unanswered. "This is cleaner than the Kelt Run," Shar observed. "They break fast." They were never taught otherwise, Core said. A tower loomed ahead. Communications. The Scardoon marked it immediately. Charges were placed. The structure collapsed inward, antennas folding like broken ribs. The planet's local net went dark. Silence followed, then screaming. Core paused, surveying the burning settlement, the moving packs, the loading barges already lifting back toward orbit, heavy with cargo. No counterfire, no reinforcements, no warning. He bared his teeth. Behind him, Shar laughed and keyed the profit tally, watching the numbers climb as human biomass was secured. "Our holds will be full," the quartermaster said, "and the markets will pay well. Soft-world meat always does." Core looked out across Halcyon 3, flames licking the night sky. "Yes," he said, savoring the taste still lingering from the ritual. "It is really our lucky day." Location: Orbital Command Station Solaris. Flagship: Heimdall. 10 FTL jumps from Halcyon 3. The command deck of Solaris had gone silent the moment the Galactic Council broadcast began streaming across open channels. It was intended as a diplomatic update, but everyone on board recognized what it really was: a verdict. "This decision is final and will not be revisited for another 20 cycles," said a cloaked council minister. "We thank you for your attention." The feed ended. Admiral Edmund Craig stood still, fists clenched behind his back. He didn't speak. They just made it legal. The council hadn't declared war on humanity. It had done something worse. It had cleared the path for others to do so, with no consequences. The silence was broken not by speech, but by static. A red light blinked to life on the comm table. Incoming priority signal. Source: Halcyon 3. Encrypted. Partial packet. Craig stepped forward. "Patch it through." The hologram bloomed, warped and jittering with interference. Screams cut through static. Weapons fire. Then the voice. "Incoming fire, multiple impacts. Non-human craft, civilian loss. They are pirates. Tell the other colonies. Don't let them take us quietly." The signal died. No screams after that. No sound at all. Craig didn't blink, just turned to his XO. "Juan, connect me to every colony channel west of Canis Drift. Full priority override." Ortega moved fast. 12 systems. Civilians, cargo lanes, independents, all of them. The channel connected. A mosaic of anxious faces flickered to life. Craig leaned forward. His voice was low, calm, unshakable. "This is Admiral Edmund Craig, Command Station Solaris. We've received confirmed aggression against Halcyon 3. The attack was predatory, coordinated, and genocidal. No known Council faction has acknowledged the strike. We are 10 jumps out. Too far to rescue, not too far to answer. Evacuate immediately. All colonies near Cygnus Verge. Initiate full retreat. If you don't have weapons, don't stop. If you don't have ships, find one. Get out and come here. Your fallback vector is Heimdall Command. We consolidate. We regroup. We don't kneel. And if your people are afraid, good. So are the ones coming for us. They just don't know it yet. He closed the channel without questions. Behind him, Ortega's voice was tight. Sir, if this is the Council's new doctrine. Craig turned. Then, we just got a green light to start breaking doctrine. Sir, we're still too far from Halcyon. We are not going there. Get me deep-range scans, pirate chatter, black market activity, any fleet movement out of the Maw regions. Aye. Craig looked out the forward viewport. From Solaris, Earth was just a blur. But every colony, every child, every broken treaty lived in his chest like an oath. Juan Ortega returned 20 minutes later with a grim face and a datapad gripped tight in one hand. Craig didn't need the words. He could read the war in his eyes. They confirmed it? The Admiral asked. Ortega nodded. We traced residual propulsion trails from the Halcyon 3 site. Multiple thermal spikes. Engine signatures consistent with Skardoon War Clan cruisers. Older models, but modified. Cloaked entry. Full energy discharge. No survivors. Craig's shoulders tensed. The pirates didn't just hit and run, Ortega added. They harvested. Cold holds on their ships are full. Craig's jaw locked. Before he could speak, his private comm line pulsed green. Encrypted. Non-council frequency. Ortega glanced at the display. Sir, incoming. Unknown signature. Not council. I know who it is, Craig said. Bridge comm sealed. I take this alone. Craig stepped into the secure chamber and activated the link. The holo display flared to life, its surface rippling like disturbed water as the image stabilized. Within the shifting blue lattice, a figure resolved. Deep blue skin, fin-fringed features, eyes adapted to pressure and darkness. The Varnkai, amphibious, elegant, quiet, ancient. They held a seat in the council, silent, ceremonial. But their allegiance to humanity was a secret they buried beneath protocol. Officially, they didn't exist outside their homeworld, Kerith Voss, a drowned planet of methane oceans and glacial tides. The being in the holo dipped its head. Admiral Craig. Varen Kell, Craig replied. It's been a long time. Varen Kell's throat sacs shifted slightly, the Varnkai version of emotion. We received word of Halcyon 3. The Skardoon are not the only war fleet stirring. My sources confirm activity in the Cygnus Maw, the Fractured Belt, and the Old Void corridors. The smell of open season is spreading. The Council's broadcast was a message, not to you, to them. Permission without consequence. Craig nodded grimly. We warned you this day might come, Varen Kell said, and in silence we have prepared. We honor the pact your ancestors forged with ours, when your species shared oxygen tech to lift us from our oceans. Without that, we would still be drowning in our own world. For decades, we have sent you schematics, shield lattice cores, enhanced coil disruptors, and we will send you more. But you must leave. Return to Sol. Fortify your birth system. The outer colonies are exposed. You will be hunted. Craig shook his head once. Slow. Final. No, he said. We run now. We bleed the whole way back. The Council's verdict wasn't exile. It was extinction. Just spaced out over the distance and time. Varen Kell narrowed his eyes. You intend to stand? Craig stepped forward. No, I intend to make them regret standing against us. The Varnkai leader remained silent for a long moment. Then, understood. We will prepare another shipment. You will receive it through your Trinus relay. No logs, no records. But our friendship remains, in light or shadow. Craig nodded. That's all we've ever needed. The link ended. Ortega re-entered moments later. "More trouble?" "More truth," Craig said. "The Varnkai are sending weapons, and warning us." "Warning us about what?" "That the Skardoon are not the only threat. We're surrounded. The Council turned off the alarms, and now everyone thinks they can take a bite." "Do we evacuate?" Craig answered right away. "No, we prepare for war." "The Council marked us as prey," he said. "Then let them hear what happens when prey bites back." The first refugee ships came in quiet. No victory chants, no signal flares, just hulls scarred from atmosphere burns, transponders locked tight, and drives bleeding heat. They settled into orbit above Heimdall Command one at a time, silent ghosts dropping into sanctuary. Admiral Craig stood at the viewport on Solaris Station's upper deck, watching the inbound paths. Most were colony liners, retrofitted haulers with extra life support layers bolted into cargo bays. A few were farming ships, long and skeletal, still stinking of algae rot and protein tanks. Not a single warship among them. But they had made it. "They came fast," Ortega said at his side, arms folded tight. "Too fast for any raiders to intercept." Craig didn't look away from the glass. They were the closest. The Predators haven't pushed that far yet. Behind him, command staff processed docking permissions and incoming medical requests. Craig stayed silent, watching the stars. 17. Jumps out. In the black lanes beyond Cygnus Verge, the rest of the human fleet was still running. 3 colony convoys had linked up hours earlier: Calder Reach, Ararat 9, and Wayland's Edge. Different founders, different histories, now flying as one. Their formation was ugly, improvised. 15 ships in a tangled gravity braid, sharing ECM pulses and heat dispersion. Calder's blocky mining freighters shielded the larger agricultural lifeboats from Ararat. Wayland's sleek courier craft ran ahead, scanning lanes and feeding jump-nav telemetry back into the group. Inside the command deck of the Trillium Wake, Wayland's lead vessel, Commander Ilias Vore ran his hands along the glass surface of the holomap. Routes flickered. Warnings blinked. "Disruption spikes in Sector Theta," said his comms tech. "Someone's bleeding drive heat too early." "Zurkol patrols," Vore said. "They're already hunting." The crew fell silent. The Zurkol ships came out of the maw like knives. Fast, lean, plasma-sheared hulls glowing dull red from the drive cores. 3 of them, banking hard across the convoy's trajectory, cutting through black space with surgical intent. They didn't fire immediately. Zurkol hunted like wolves, fast, quiet, overwhelming. One pass, then board and harvest. "Brace pattern," Vore said. "Run it clean." The fleet pulled tighter. Shield layers overlapped. Ararat's lifeboats ducked behind Calder's armor plating. Wayland's 2 rear scouts broke formation, dropping countermeasures and lighting dummy beacons. The Zurkul ignored them. They came straight for the center of the convoy. One of Calder's old strip miners took the first hit, a precision plasma lertons that sliced its port nacelle clean off. No explosion, just silent venting and a slow, deadly spin. Then the raiders closed. Breacher pods launched, fast, bone-white cylinders that drilled into hulls and split open like parasitic claws. But the humans were not defenseless. The Trillium Wake rolled hard to port and fired from its underbelly. Not standard railguns, but mag-cored tungsten spikers, built in secret for orbital break siege. One of the pods detonated mid-flight, split apart in a sharp flash of metal. Ararat 9's lead barge jettisoned 4 storage containers, not to flee, but to detonate. They were old nitrogen tanks, converted into directional pulse bombs, rigged by hand. 2 of the raiding ships swerved late. One clipped the edge of the blast and lost attitude control. "Zurkol backing off," Vore's weapons chief barked. "They weren't ready for that." "Of course not," Vore said. "They thought we'd scream and die." The 3rd Zurkol ship circled back, lining up for a broadside run. Then space cracked open again. Skardoon ships dropped from slipspace, heavier, darker, shaped like serrated bone spears. No formation, no warning, just hunger. The Zirkle ship veered off instantly. Kor's war clan had come to claim the prize, but the Zirkle weren't interested in sharing. No words exchanged, just weapons fire. Skardoon plasma arcs lanced across the Zirkle's bow. The Zirkle replied with hyperburst kinetics. Armor sparked and tore. A fight ignited between predators, vicious, sudden, territorial. Vor watched it unfold with a clenched jaw. "Now," he said, "every ship, jump vector to Heimdall, fire retros, burn everything we don't need. Get us out of this graveyard." The convoy lit its engines. Behind them, raider ships slammed into each other. Two clans, same goal, same prey, but no discipline. The human fleet vanished in the slipstream, engines howling. But Trillium Wake didn't jump with them. Not yet. It hung back, alone, rotating slowly. On its ventral side, one last weapon charge built silently. A stolen Varnkai-designed pulse warhead, shielded from scans. When it fired, the pulse lanced across space and slammed into a Skardoon scout ship mid-maneuver. The impact cracked its armor, spun it hard, and left it drifting. Inside the Skardoon bridge, a pilot bellowed in fury. "Who?" "No impact warning," another hissed. "No targeting trace." Then how did they? The bridge went quiet, tension crawling into the silence. "Zirkle sabotage?" someone muttered. "Or Trigon car tech?" No answer came. The Trillium Wake blinked out, unnoticed and perfectly forgotten. Hours later, in Heimdall orbit, Admiral Craig watched the second wave arrive. 15 ships dropped from FTL, scarred, smoking, but intact. Ortega exhaled. They made it. Craig didn't speak at first. He just watched the telemetry scroll. Ortega tapped his console. "Captains from the 3 colony convoys are requesting a joint debrief. They're already in holding." "Clear them through," Craig said. He stepped back from the viewport, jaw locked tight. "I want everything they saw, every jump, every contact, from all of them." Ortega nodded and turned away. Craig remained still for a long moment, watching the dark beyond the station glass. "The galaxy still think we're running," he said quietly. "Let them." The debrief room in Heimdall Command wasn't built for comfort. It was built to make people speak quickly and think clearly. 3 captains sat at the far end of the reinforced table, each from a different colony, each marked by exhaustion, by loss, by survival. Craig stood at the head, Ortega beside him. The lights were clinical. The atmosphere was airlocked silence. Craig didn't start with questions. He let them speak. Captain Darren from Calder Reach went first. Sharp voice, all angles. He outlined the ambush, the Zirkle intercept vectors, and the mining haulers' shield stacking. Captain Rail from Ararat. 9 followed, calm, medical. Explained how her crew rerouted power from atmospheric processors to engine buffers, how they moved behind the miners and kept the civvy hulls from collapsing under pressure. Both spoke like survivors. Then Craig turned to the third. Commander Ilias Vore didn't move. He'd been quiet through it all, elbows on the table, fingers steepled, still wearing half his jump harness. No ceremony. "Trillium Wake was last to jump," Craig said. "Explain." Vore looked up. "No damage on our side. No borders. No lock. We had time." He let the silence settle before continuing. "We held position 36 seconds after the last freighter cleared." Ortega frowned. "Why?" Vore answered without blinking. "To confirm something." He tapped the holopad in front of him and pushed it forward. The table's surface flickered, displaying a recorded data slice, long-range imaging and radiation tracking. Playback from a stealth sensor array mounted under his ship's keel. 3 vessels, mid-battle, Skardoon, Zirkle, and a flickering 4th trace. His own shot. Craig leaned forward slightly. Is this the pulse? Yes. The playback looped. The warhead impact showed as a clean, tight spike. It hit the Skardoon scout ship mid-roll. No pre-lock, no tracking trail. Craig asked, "Varnkai?" "Half," Vor said. "We cracked the shell. Replaced the core with a Terran-built scatter lattice. No traceable coil signature. The whole thing's invisible to standard forensic sweeps." Ortega tilted his head. "So no one knows you fired?" "No one can prove it. They didn't even turn toward us." He shifted slightly. Not smug. Focused. They turned on each other. A pause. Then he added, "They never considered the shot came from us. That's what I stayed to see." Craig straightened. "And what did you see?" Vor tapped the data stream again. A second spike appeared. Not a weapon discharge, but a signal ghost. A Skardoon beacon pinging toward high-band tactical relays. Not human. Not Council standard. They tagged the Zurkul. Ortega muttered, "They blamed the other predators." Vor nodded. "I figured they would. No one expects a convoy ship to carry something that surgical, especially not humans. We're supposed to panic, burn engines, die." Craig said nothing. He just stared at the loop. Finally, "What happens if we do it again?" Vor's answer was immediate. "They'll start hunting each other before they hunt us." The room went still. Ortega spoke slowly. "That's assuming we don't get identified. If one of them puts it together, then we go back to dying on schedule," Vor said. "But if they keep misreading our signals, that's chaos. Confusion buys time." Craig looked over at his intelligence chief, who had been silent until now. "Any chatter from the outer sectors?" The officer checked her slate. Zurkul movement along the void spine just shifted. Intercept angles now aimed at Skardoon border posts. 2 detachments pulled back from human-aligned lanes. No public accusations yet. Craig stepped away from the table. "We need more of these pulse rounds. Cloaked, silent, off-record. No standard tech markers. Vor. We've got the schematics. Wayland can scale production." Ortega. "Deployment?" Craig turned back. "We don't strike targets. We strike nerves. Patrols, transports, border lanes. Just enough to make someone paranoid." Vor didn't speak, just nodded once. "New protocols will be distributed within the hour," Craig said. "Full blackout. No fleet stamps. All traces removed." The room stood together. The captains nodded. The debrief ended. Craig remained still as they filed out, eyes fixed on the loop of data still playing across the holotable. A single shot. One moment of engineered silence. Enough to start a war that wasn't theirs. The cloak wasn't for hiding. It was for misdirection. The weapon wasn't just ready. It was reproducible. Commander Ilias Vore stood over the pulse casing as it cooled inside its cradle. The alloy sheen had that dull, untraceable finish now. Carbon diffuse plating folded over a Varnkai-designed lattice, modified by Weyland engineers. No signature. No residual telemetry. No predictable decay trail. The engineer at his side finished recalibrating the scatter array and stepped back. "That's number 8, he said. Vor didn't answer right away. He leaned in, checked the housing seals himself. Gloved fingers brushed over the final emitter plate. He tapped once. No distortion. Good. "Push production to 15 by next rotation," he said. "I want them pre-charged and sleeved. No unit should carry more than 1. We fire once, then vanish." The engineer hesitated. "What about storage bleed?" "We dump them after launch." "And if we miss?" Vora looked at him. "We don't." On the upper deck of Heimdall, Admiral Craig stood in the blacklit tactical bay as 5 beams swept downward across a central platform. Above them hovered a ghost projection of the outer verge. Once human space, now predator territory. Blinking red signals marked key pirate sectors. No flags, no affiliations, just targets. Craig reached into the display, dragging 3 translucent rings across the map, each one centered over a known pirate supply point. Fuel, ammo, navigation cores. "First wave hits here," he said. "Silent shots. No chatter. No trail." Ortega, standing beside him, watched the vectors draw themselves. "These are Scardoon zones," he said. Craig nodded. "We don't hit them directly. We hit what keeps them moving. Let the others guess who did it." He rotated another slice of the map. Nokthar outpost in the Strix depths, Dravek docking spines on Telva 9, Trigon-Kar convoy anchor between Helos and the Maw. Ortega's jaw flexed. "You're poking 5 hives at once." "I'm giving them 5 reasons to stop trusting each other." Below the core, Heimdall's new lattice spine shuddered once, a low vibrational pulse that rippled through the metal. The shield ring was coming online. Gravitic anchors locked into the outer shell like a blooming iron flower. Power fed through Varnkai lattice cores the size of shuttle engines, each layered with Terran surge dampeners and hand-routed pulse wiring from Wayland teams. Craig walked the inner ring alone, gloved hand dragging across the shield's diagnostic console. The numbers scrolled without red lines. 98.4%. Field overlap. 99.1%. Beam displacement. 0.0%. Kinetic breach risk. Simulated. He stopped and looked up as plasma arcs shimmered between test pylons. The system hissed, alive, not just active. The Heimdall wasn't a ship anymore. It was a fortress. He keyed in his comm line. "Craig to Vor. Yes, sir. You fly in 4 hours. I want 2 test runs before that. Ghost launch only. Confirm tracking nulls, route disruption, and post-strike FTL fade-out." "Understood," Vor replied. Later, in the classified war room, Craig met with the Black Cell's handlers. No names, no uniforms. Just datapads, filtered voices, sealed channels. "We're not here to win battles," Craig told them. "We're here to start them, between our enemies." He laid out the deployment path. 2 Vor-led ships per strike group. 1 fires, 1 scrambles sensor echoes. All returned through misaligned FTL hops to fracture trail analysis. Deploy across 6 systems in 3 days, no overlapping vectors. "This isn't a counterattack," Craig said. "This is misdirection with teeth." "What's our fallback if they trace it?" one handler asked. Craig's reply was cold. "They won't. But if they do, it'll be over another faction's corpse." In the shield chamber, Vor watched the final emitter test. A silent, shielded pulse through vacuum. No light, no noise. Just numbers. The system recorded 2.4 seconds of energy transit before dispersion. It was enough. He keyed into Heimdall's secure channel. "This is Vor. Strike units 1 through 4. Final briefing in 15. Load silent casings only. No secondary arrays. Execute as plotted." "We move in shadow," said one of the lieutenants. "No," Vor replied. "We are the shadow." The first strike came just before dawn over Telva 9, and no one saw it. One moment, the Dravek Consortium's refueling lattice hung quiet above the gas giant, siphoning core plasma through a triple spine rig. The next, it was gone. No explosion, no warning, just a silent rupture of internal systems, followed by a slow, catastrophic break. Surveillance caught nothing. Local comms froze in place, and by the time scavenger skiffs arrived 2 hours later, there was only debris, superheated plating and a half-melted emblem drifting in vacuum. The Dravek blamed the Nokthar. The Nokthar didn't get the chance to respond. Their own deep space relay, hidden in the Strix depths, ruptured 4 hours later in an identical pattern, a precision pulse that bypassed their shield grid and fried every backup system from the inside out. 3 long haulers were docked when it happened, all lost. Their final transmission was static, and a single word: backstabbers. That was enough for the Scardoon. They didn't wait for proof. They didn't ask for statements. They launched. Orbital guns lit up along the border of the Mir fringe, catching the Dravik's main convoy as it attempted to jump out. 6 ships were turned to slag in under 30 seconds. The rest scattered. The Dravik consortium died in retreat. Half their ships lost to Skardoon fire, the other half to navigational failures mid-jump. By the end of the day, their leadership node had gone dark. No one answered the hails. No one survived to explain. Nokthar's outposts fared no better. 3 allied bands turned on them the moment the sabotage appeared systemic. They were wiped out in under 36 hours, shot down while begging for a ceasefire over shared frequencies. None came. Vor stood at the rear holotable inside Heimdall's command tier, silent as the final logs came in. Craig read the feed himself. Dravik confirmed dead, Ortega said. Last ping came from one of their slave transports. Skardoon tracked it and wiped the pod. No survivors. Craig nodded. And Nokthar? Vor answered. Split apart under pressure. Lost their fuel node, 2 backup beacons, and a senior shipwright. Skardoon hit the rest in open space. Ortega cracked his knuckles once. Then it worked. Craig leaned back slightly, reading the 3 redacted points on the board. Pulse delivery vectors. Undetected. False sensor signatures. Blamed on Dravik. Response pattern. Confirmed infighting. 2 down, he said. 3 remain. That night, the final emitter cores locked into place across Heimdall's spine. Craig watched from the exterior viewport as the shield lattice shimmered and folded in on itself. Not a sphere, but a layered webwork designed to confuse targeting systems. Varnkai tech ran underneath, but the shell was all Terran. Dense alloys, manual routing, triple redundancies. Power surged through the central spine like blood. One by one, the defense grid nodes turned green. No flicker, no surge, just confirmation. The Heimdall was no longer just protected. It was sealed. A mobile bastion behind a wall no pirate ship had the firepower to crack. Craig turned to Ortega. Run simulated impact, Skardoon Dreadnought class, full volley. The projection ran. Nothing got through. And now? Ortega asked. Now we become bait, Craig said. The next day, Vor returned from the final rotation with 12 strike ships behind him. Not a full fleet, not even a proper wing. But each one now carried the upgraded pulse weapon, slotted into ventral racks and cooled with triple redundancy shielding. He reported directly to Craig in the command tier. Zurkul didn't engage, he said. They're tracking Skardoon movements and pulling back, probably trying to survive what they think is another clan war. And Trigonkar? Observing. No aggression, but they're watching every slipstream from orbit. Passive scans only. They're smart. Too smart to move. Craig nodded. Let's keep it that way. Vor glanced at the board. 2 names gone. 3 left. They're eating each other faster than we expected. They're predators, Craig said, and we made them hungry. Sir, incoming transmission, Ortega said. Non-council frequency. Unverified species signature. Not on the white list. Route it to me, Craig said. The call blinked to life. Slow, deliberate, static around the edges. The holoprojector shimmered in blue. Then it shifted. The figure that emerged wasn't like the others. Tall, bipedal, scale-bound skin with dull copper plates grown into the shoulders, head ridged with 4 low crests, no mouth visible, only a glowing vocal aperture near the collarbone. The species identifier pinged incomplete. Species unknown. Designation, Suk lore. Lexicon, unsynchronized. But the being spoke anyway, and the voice that followed was low, modulated, shaped for clarity. We are Suk lore. You do not know us, but we know you. Craig said nothing. We fled a region you do not chart. The enemies we fled do not follow your codes. We were prey, hunted, bled, exiled from our own flame worlds. The image flickered, showing burned wreckage behind them, fragments of skiffs, cargo hulls, and what looked like low-atmo habitats. For cycles, we moved, escaping one predator only to find another. We left our dead in too many skies. Ortega's voice broke the silence in a whisper. This is a diplomatic call. Craig nodded once. Let them speak. The Suklor tilted their head. 1 cycle ago, while fleeing a raid corridor near the Cygnus Fringe, our final carriers dropped into a contested zone, the place you call Nukthar space. Ortega stiffened. They were there? We expected slaughter, but we saw something else. We saw predators, turning on each other. Not wild, not random. Directed, precise, as if guided by invisible hand. The image shifted again, showing low-res sensor logs of a Skardoon ship firing on Nukthar, while another Nukthar vessel attempted to signal retreat. Then we saw you, your vessels, small, fast, not firing, but moving. And one of them exposed itself, weak, alone, just enough for both clans to strike. Craig's eyes narrowed. Yes, the Suklor said. You drew the strike, and when they turned on each other, you left. No noise, no mark. They paused, letting the silence work. You turned the hunters into prey, without pulling a single trigger. Ortega crossed his arms. And now you want what? Sanctuary. The Suklor didn't react. No flinch, no anger. We do ask for sanctuary, he said, but not as cowards, not as cargo. We'll fight. You give us a place to stand. We'll help you hold the line. Craig's gaze narrowed. You offering warriors? The Suklor envoy nodded once. We are few, but not useless. Orbital refraction cloaks, stealth rigs, nav charts the Concord never mapped. We bring them. Craig stepped in. Why? Because we watched. You survive by adapting. We don't. Not well. Not fast enough. We want to learn. The holosignal hung steady, audio clean. Craig turned to Ortega. Get Vor on the deck, and prep a secure hangar. Ortega raised an eyebrow. You're bringing them in? Not yet, Craig said, but I want them face to face. He turned back to the projection. Suklor, this is Heimdall Command. How long until you reach docking range? The Suklor envoy tilted his head. 1 cycle, Admiral. Less if your skies stay clear. Craig nodded once. Good. Vector Delta 3. When you arrive, come slow, running cold. We see anything out of place. Your signal goes black. Understood, the envoy said. It is not in our nature to betray a pack we choose. The Suklor arrived with silence. No escort, no formation. Just 12 ships, shaped like folded daggers, gliding under Heimdall's outer sensors before revealing themselves. When they docked, they didn't step off with ceremony, just presence, measured, scarred, alive. Craig met them face to face. Suklor Command wasn't organized by rank, but by memory. The one that spoke was old, even by their standards. Scaled plates dulled to a bronze hue, spine markings faded with time. No weapons visible, just resolve. We honor the line we asked to stand in, he said. We will follow your orders. Craig offered no speech, just a nod. Then we begin today. But that was only the start. The second call came 8 hours later, encrypted, long wave, and modulated by harmonic resonance. Ortega frowned. It's not a language, it's sound patterns. Structured, but strange. Craig leaned forward. Loop it through bioacoustic filters. Something alive is sending this. The audio shifted. Subharmonics turned to tones. Tones turned to voice. This is the Arathi. You do not know our name. Most do not. A soft, musical frequency underscored every word, like speech riding a melody. We do not leave our world. We cannot. We are our world. The holomap displayed a glowing blue sphere, Raylos, a sun-synchronous planet wrapped in radiant bands and storms. Beneath those storms lived the Arathi. They had no military, no orbital presence, but they had something else. We are music, radiation. Our culture sings in frequencies, bound to our sun. Our shield is harmonic, born of resonance. It burns what touches it. The image flickered. A fleet of pirate ships hovered just above the ionosphere, weapons firing in rhythm. Plasma bursts, shock torpedoes. Nothing broke through. They cannot enter, but we cannot leave, not without breaking ourselves. Ortega whispered, "It's a siege. We ask not for ships. We ask not for blood. We ask for trade. We can hold for 2 cycles, maybe less. But we will not last without medicine, or food, or trading." Craig stood still, eyes scanning the readouts. "In return, we offer our harmonic shield matrix. You may replicate, alter. We share this freely. Because if we die, no one will ever hear us again." Craig replied simply, "We hear you now. You're not alone anymore." The third transmission came 12 hours after that. A low-grav planet, dense mist atmosphere, 3/4 of it already under pirate occupation. The rest held by a primitive race, clawed bipeds with crystalline bone structures and glow-threaded veins. No FTL, no off-world contact. They called themselves the Volkral. Their language had no word for diplomacy, but they knew war and loss. The call came through bursts of imagery and basic shared glyphs. It was hard to decipher, but the message was clear. Half of their world was burning. The other half was inside a living shield, a continental volcanic ridge that emitted radiation levels lethal to all non-native biology. But the pirates weren't giving up. Volkral envoys, clad in bone armor and burned scars, sent their plea the only way they could, by walking into an active geothermal beam and letting it transmit their biosignal straight into Heimdall's receivers. They knew they couldn't win, but they could beg. "We offer no ships, no tools. Our world is not ours to give," said the Volkral envoy through a cracked translator. "But we send you the image of our survival, our heat, our flame glass. Scan it, mirror it, make it yours, because if we fall, let part of us burn with you." Craig nodded slowly. "We'll take the knowledge, and we'll find a way to get you out." By the end of 72 hours, 5 species had made contact. All non-council, all hunted, all considered irrelevant by the Conquered's caste structure, all watching humanity move. They didn't come for protection. They came because the galaxy had turned its back. And humans had proven in the past that they were resourceful and dangerous when cornered. They came because humanity was their last chance of survival. Each species sent what they could. The Arathi offered harmonic shield schematics. The Volkral transmitted geological scans of their flame glass armor, data detailed enough for human engineers to replicate. The Zirethi Kul shared jump calibration tech that shaved precious fractions off FTL drift, and the Nirai Fold gave them sensor ghosting grids capable of mimicking entire phantom fleets. None of this came through council lines. All of it was shared in defiance. Craig stood before the warboard, watching the map of alliances shift. Each name carried weight now, each signature added to the network. At his side, Vor stared at the Suklor delegation as they walked past a hollow projection of Heimdall's strike zones. 5 species in 3 days. The council never even listed us as sentient. Now they're watching us build something. "The council never acknowledged us," Craig replied. "They just classified us." Ortega sighed. "What do we call this then?" Craig looked at the names flickering across the map. Faint lines connecting them. Lines of signal. Trade. Trust. "We don't call it anything," he said. "Not yet." The first Zirkul ship breached visual range at 0423 Heimdall Standard. They didn't broadcast demands, didn't jam signals. They came in fast, weapons charged, shields hot, and formation tight. 28 cruisers, 6 Dread-class ships with bone-sculpted hulls and plasma-bore spinal cannons. Trigon car ships decloaked 30 seconds later. 12, no markings, their matte black skin rippling with sensor-baffling tech. They kept their distance, flanking wide like patient executioners. Admiral Craig didn't flinch. He stood on Heimdall's upper command deck, watching the hostile fleet roll in across the hollow. "Ortega," he said, voice flat. "Are they hailing?" "No, sir. Full lock. Weapons free." "They think they've caught us unready," Craig said coldly. He glanced at the tactical officers. "Bring Heimdall's shield to full burn. Let them see we were waiting." The stars outside dimmed. A low hum filled the bridge, rising in pitch until it shimmered in the bones. Heimdall's shield lattice, fed by 5 deep-cycle reactors, expanded like a burning dome. Every human vessel under its cover snapped into full tactical sync. Even the older hauler frames hummed with repulsor integrity, armored like warships. Zurkul dreadnoughts opened fire first. Plasma lances screamed toward the shield edge, white-hot arcs designed to bore through carrier hulls. The first wave hit. The shield didn't flicker. The energy absorbed and folded, channeled through the Arathi harmonic matrices Craig had installed just days before. The second wave of fire came harder, angrier. Then everything changed. From behind the second ring of Heimdall's formation, a dozen Suklor strike frigates decloaked. Fast, quiet, armed to the bone. They didn't give warning shots. They split the Zurkul flanks with needle bursts and spike torpedoes, weapons designed not to kill, but disable. Targeting engines, power cores, escape vectors. In 3 minutes, the Zurkul formation turned into debris. Trigon car ships began to retreat. Craig didn't stop them. Not yet. He turned to Vor, waiting on the lower deck in full command armor. "You have your orders?" Vor nodded once. "We break them today." Zurkul homeworld. 9 hours later. The planet was called Naskarith, but the humans didn't need the name, only the coordinates. The Zurkul had thought their distance would protect them. No strike fleet had ever come close to their core systems before. That mistake ended now. Commander Vor's fleet dropped from slipspace with no formation ceremony. Naskarith bristled with orbital defense stations and pulse platforms, the kind that shredded most fleets before they reached lower orbit. But Vor's ships didn't come in from orbit. They phase-jumped beneath it, using Zerethikul coils fused with Suklor stealth rigs, targeting a blind band just above the equator. It was narrow, unguarded, and mapped by nav charts the Zurkul didn't even know existed. By the time the orbital batteries began recalibrating, the human fleet was already in atmosphere and burning targets. They tore into orbit-to-ground relays, supply depots, fleet dry docks, and data centers. Anything that gave the Zurkul reach. Infrastructure disappeared in firestorms. Thermal barrages collapsed refinery towers. Craters bloomed across the polar lattice where their manufacturing cores once stood. One Suklor frigate hit a central control nexus with a destabilizing sonic core. The blast didn't vaporize the site. It unfolded it, layer by layer, as if the building had been made of pages set alight. Zurkul Command responded too late, fractured, desperate, outranged. Their first wave of counter-assault cruisers were cut down before clearing Atmo. Their second wave turned back before reaching orbit. On Naskarith's northern hemisphere, Zurkul hatchery domes burned blue. Vor didn't stop at Naskarith. In the next 36 hours, his task force hit 3 more critical systems: staging worlds, resource moons, and encrypted comms hubs, not with fleet bombardment, with precision. No pirate slaves were killed, no civilian docks touched. This wasn't extinction. It was crippling. By the time the strike fleet vanished from long-range scans, Zircul Command had lost 40% of its outer reach capacity. They weren't feared predators now. They were scavengers, blind, bleeding, and afraid of the next shadow. Heimdall, debrief. Vor stood before Craig, armor scratched but intact. Around him, the other convoy captains stood in grim silence. Suk Lore Command lingered in the shadows behind them, silent, watchful. "We're back," Vor said simply. Craig nodded. "Zircul." "Shattered," Vor said. "Not dead, but afraid. They won't move for a while." Craig looked to Ortega. "Any council response?" Silence. "But they're listening. Good." He turned to the war board. Pirate activity was down 62% across human former territories. Skardoon presence was static. Trigg and Carr had withdrawn to the edge of Maw space. Craig didn't relax. He stepped away from the board. "One down," he said. No one needed to ask who was next. Skardoon Prime, 36 hours later. The planet was a fortress. Skardoon Prime sat at the heart of a triple-star belt, cloaked in radiation storms and ringed with moons modified into weapons platforms. Their homeworld was shaped like a blade, jagged mountain ranges and volcanic trench lines glowing with warforges. The fleet arrived in staggered drops. Commander Vor led the first wave, Suk Lore frigates slicing past the orbital defenses before they had time to triangulate. The human fleet followed, 39 ships in total, armed with pulse disruptors, Near-Eye, ghosting arrays, and Volcral flameglass composite hulls. The Arathi shield harmonics folded Skardoon plasma back on itself. Their orbital stations melted first, not from direct hits, but from feedback overkill. Their own weapons turned against them. "Push hard," Vor ordered. "No retreats, no survivors." The Skardoon didn't beg, didn't run. They fought to the last. But they weren't just fighting ships. They were fighting technology they couldn't scan, tactics they didn't understand, and an alliance they hadn't even realized existed. It wasn't a battle. It was collapse. Their command citadel went dark 2 hours into the assault. Their planetary shield lattice fell minutes later, overwhelmed by a harmonic cascade loop the humans had tuned from Arathi data. Vor's fleet descended lower. The surface burns weren't random. Every war clan hatchery, foundry, and relay spine had been reduced to glass and slag. One by one, the Skardoon ships that tried to escape were cut apart in mid-orbit, their hulls torn open by Varn-Kai-engineered torsion missiles. By the end of the second day, Skardoon Prime was silent. The war clan was gone. But not all of them had been there. Across the sector, scouting patrols and hunting packs still roamed, far from the homeworld, raiding in older vessels without active command uplinks. When the signals reached them, unencrypted distress bursts, dying telemetry, a sudden blackout across all channels, they didn't respond. They fled, into null space, into nothing. No call for revenge, no counterstrike. The Skardoon were finished. With news of Skardoon Prime's destruction spreading across the sector, the silence didn't last long. An incoming message arrived. Clean, formal, no encryption. To Admiral Craig, Heimdall Command, we acknowledge the actions taken by your species against the Zircul and Skardoon war clans. The Trigg and Carr state, for the record, that we have never hunted human colonies. Our vessels have never breached human-claimed space. We seek neutral ground, open comms, non-aggression, if not alliance. The figure in the holo display was tall, thin, and featureless, their face a blank mask of refracted metal. Craig didn't reply immediately. He watched the message cycle again, then stepped forward into the holofield and activated the return channel. The Trigon-Car envoy tilted its head slightly, waiting. Craig's voice was calm, measured. "We don't hunt first," he said. "But when we do, it's not hunting. It's extermination." He ended the transmission. No reply came. The war didn't end with the Scardoon. It ended when the ones who had watched, the ones who had whispered through encrypted lines, shared schematics in secret, or sent aid across voids, were no longer prey. Admiral Craig knew that freedom had a cost. He also knew it had a schedule. He gave Vor and the Suk Lor 6 days. The task force split into 4 arms. Vor, Ortega, Suk Lor tacticians, and 3 human captains now battle-tested and trusted. They launched from Heimdall in precision formations, each fleet tasked with breaking siege lines where allied species were still trapped under pirate or raider control. Their objectives, the Volkral Forge Ring, encircled by hostile Trigon car mining frames, turned rogue. The Arathi Skyward Lattice, throttled by a plasma siphon blockade. The Zerethikul Arkstep Range, rigged with detonation charges by a dying raider faction. And the Neri Fold Deep Orbit, starved of supply by a drone shield siege. None of the missions were clean. Each battle cost ships, but none were lost. The human task force carried out what no one else dared: surgical strikes, boarding raids, scorched sky tactics on pirate fleet caches. By the end of Day 6, no pirate siege remained. The moment the last hostile beacon fell silent, the surviving allies gathered, not in a throne room, not in orbit, but inside the Heimdall command deck, a room built by refugees, survivors, and the underestimated. The species stood in the holosphere. They had no shared language, only shared trauma, memory, and purpose. No votes were cast, no treaties signed, but a name was chosen: the Interstellar Council. Not a shadow council, not a rebellion. A new foundation, one that didn't ask the old powers for permission. The Allies named humanity High Command, not out of reverence, but recognition. On the 3rd day after the Interstellar Council's announcement, Heimdall received a transmission. Direct, formal, stamped with the official seal of the Galactic Concord. A High Council minister, draped in spectral silk, spoke in smooth, hollow tones. Humanity. We have observed your declaration. The foundation of an unsanctioned council violates Concord protocols. You may submit for review and potential admission to the Galactic Council. Alternatively, you may disband your unauthorized union and reintegrate. The message cut off mid-sentence. Craig had killed the link. The bridge was silent. Ortega didn't even blink. Craig leaned forward into the comms console and opened a return channel. To the Galactic Concord, he said, humans don't beg. We make our own rules. Craig let the message linger, just long enough for it to hit, then cut the feed.
Hey there, space human. I'm really curious about your thoughts on this video. Drop a quick comment and let me know what's on your mind. Or just say hi if you prefer. Either way, I'd love to hear from you. Also, remember to check the pinned comment. Trust me, it's worth a look. Oh, and one last thing. I've chosen another video for you to watch. Just click the card here, or here if you want the whole playlist. See you there.